Hi, welcome to this podcast where I'm going to look at ratio analysis and how we use ratio analysis. It's quite an important tool, but using it, we've got to know how to use it properly. First thing about ratios, they are a comparison tool. I know in the textbooks they quite often give you ideal ratios, things like the liquid ratio or the current ratio. For example, textbooks will either say 1.5 or 2 to 1 for the current ratio. The reality is these ratios vary widely, as you're about to see, between industries. We use ratios to measure three things, really. We either use them to look at the performance of a business year on year. So how do we do this year compared to last year? Have we got better? Is it being managed more efficiently? Is it being managed better? We might use it to compare directly with other firms. So which is the best supermarket business in the UK? I would be comparing firms like Tesco's, Morrison's, Asda to find out which is better. And we can also use it to measure industry averages. One particular problem with using ratio analysis is for sole traders and partnerships, or trying to compare yourself with a sole trader or partnership, because these types of businesses have no requirement to make their accounts public. So there's no way that I could get the figures for example, a small shop operating in my local village in the UK that sells groceries to compare them with Tesco's, because it's very doubtful that the owner is going to say, yes, here are all my financial figures. You can get around that to an extent, but we'll talk about that on the next slide, by using industry averages. And then I've done another video on this, the general problems with comparing financial information. Obviously, they apply very much to ratio analysis, things like it being backward looking. Okay, what I've done here, I've gone to an investing website, and there's plenty of these online, and this one does provide some ratios. So I've picked, I think I'm going to just focus down as far as inventory turnover, to be honest. But I've picked Tesco's, and on this website they do give you industry averages. The way industry averages often work is there are companies that specialise in doing these, and companies then pay to receive the industry average information off them. And as part of being, if you like, in the club that gets these industry averages, you have to release your financial results to these firms. But the understanding there is that they don't give out any individual firm financial information to competitors. They're just giving them a broad brush for how that industry operates. And here we've got the comparisons between Tesco's on a number of factors. Looking at them in more detail, what do they mean, and what do I need to say about them? Gross profit to revenue ratio. For Tesco's, it's a lot lower, which on the face of it is a bad thing, than the industry. So Tesco's generates 6.9 pence of gross profit for every pound of sales, and that's 9.29% less than the industry. It might not be negative. It could be that Tesco's have a strategy which is going to be successful of trying to increase sales and market share with lower prices. Or it could mean that Tesco's actually aren't very good at purchasing goods, and they're therefore paying too high a price for the goods, or they're in a position where they should be charging a higher price per unit for those goods. Profit to revenue ratio, well, the first thing is actually just looking on here, although there's a big difference between the gross profit margins, it's not a big difference between the profit margin or the profit for year as a percentage of revenue. So Tesco's generate 2.04 pence of profit for every £1 of sales, and that's 1.47% less than the industry. So on the face of it, this is still a bad thing. The first thing I noticed when I looked at that is the difference is a lot less than for the gross profit margin. And what that does mean is that the expenses part of Tesco's income statement in relation to the revenue is actually quite small. And again, the positive of that could be that they're trying to generate increased market share and then increased actual amount of profit as opposed to percentage profit in the marketplace. Or it could mean that the cost of sales or the expenses are high in relation to the revenue. Although, as I've already said here, we can rule out certainly the expenses as a percentage of revenue being particularly high because of that large difference between the gross profit margin and the differences between the actual profit margins. Current ratio 0.6 to 1, and that compares with 0.7 to 1 for the industry average. So Tesco's has got 61 pence of current assets to generate cash to pay every £1 of current liabilities, and that's significantly less than the industry average by 10 pence. And what that could say to us is that Tesco's will struggle to pay the money it owes. Or what it could actually also mean is that Tesco's is very, very efficient at managing both its non-current assets and its cash flow, and therefore it's using the excess cash that it has to either reduce borrowing costs or interest costs, more specifically on those borrowings, or maybe it's been using that as a source of funds to fund the expansion of the business. And that was one of the big sort of innovations when in the 1970s, certainly in the UK, when we got an explosion of supermarkets. One of the things that they realized was that their customers pay them cash straight away, and yet they don't need to pay their suppliers in many cases for 90 plus days. So they are able to use some of that cash to fund new stores, increasing the size of existing stores, or putting additional services into stores. And again, this one's interesting because the liquid ratio, although for Tesco's it's actually slightly higher than the industry average. They've got 47 pence of gross of current assets, excluding inventory, for every pound of current liabilities which they owe, and that's 14 pence more than the overall industry. And that says something to me as well about the inventory straight away without looking at the next slide. That said to me straight away, there's a difference there. The lower the inventory average for the current ratio, but higher for the liquid ratio. That means that Tesco's inventory is a lot smaller than the inventory average in relation to the amount of money that they have to pay out. So it could mean one of two things. It could mean that they are less likely to experience short-term liquidity problems in the industry, because the industry are only going to generate 33 pence for every pound they owe. Or it could also mean that they are less efficient at managing the cash flow, because the rest of the industry are surviving with 33 pence for every £1 they owe, and therefore they're using the additional cash that they've managed to generate at some point to fund expansion. Okay, coming back onto the inventory turnover. Inventory turnover for Tesco's is 21.54. That means that they turn over their inventory 21.54 times in a year, i.e. from when the inventory gets delivered to when it gets sold, it takes 16.94 days. And I just inverted the ratio in terms of times and times it by 365 to get that number. So roughly for Tesco's, inventory comes in today, and 2 weeks and 3 days later, the customer will be walking out of a store somewhere with those goods in their bag. It's obviously a lot quicker than the industry average. It's 7.04 times faster than the industry average. And in some ways, we'd look at that and say that's a really, really positive thing, because it means that they're more efficient at turning over the inventory than the industry as a whole. That means that they're generating cash from that inventory quicker, and it also means they need less space. They've got lower insurance costs and less out-of-date inventory. But there is a downside to this in terms of there's more chance of stocking out of inventory. So, for example, running out of bread, running out of cans of baked beans, because the inventory is coming in and leaving the shelves very, very quickly. And there was a case a few years ago, Sainsbury's tried to increase their turnover of inventory, which is another large supermarket chain in the UK. And the problem that they found was that on some key goods, they were running out of stock. And the problem with running out of stock, if you're a supermarket, is if people go in to buy bread and there's no bread, they will go to the competition. Now, look at those ratios. I know because I'm a small investor in Tesco's. I bought some shares this year because I thought they were going to be doing better. And there was clearly a large difference between Tesco and somewhere it looked inefficient compared to the industry average. So one of the things that you do need to do is check the provenance or the accuracy of the source. Now, I've got actually no reason to doubt that this company providing the information are not being dishonest in any way, shape, or form. But my guess is that the industry average figures here are given for the retail industry rather than something more specific to do with a supermarket churning over consumable goods and trying to do it quickly. And that was kind of borne out because what I did, I got the information from Morrison's, and those figures for Tesco and Morrison's, another large supermarket chain in the UK, are a lot more similar. So in this case, I think that the information I've been looking at is all retailers and includes things like clothes shops, not just supermarkets. The other thing to be very careful about as well for using information online is there are, for many ratios, more than one common formula. So firstly, if you're comparing information from two different sources, are they both using the same formula? And even if they are using the same formula, is it the formula that you think it is? So be very careful when you're making decisions based on information online. Not that necessarily it's inaccurate, although I'm sure there are sources of information online that are inaccurate or possibly 2 or 3 years out of date. I don't think so with the one I've used, but I certainly don't know all the ratios that they've used and which formulas they've used, and I'm fairly certain that their market standards are the retail industry in general, including clothes, hardware, electrical goods, as well as food, rather than being specific for food retailers. Right, I hope that gives you some ideas about the sorts of things you need to look at when you're writing an essay about ratios. Generally, AS students, which is predominantly what this is aimed at, are quite good at calculating the ratios, and where the problems come in then, it's interpreting the ratios and this understanding that ratios could either be high, or most ratios can be too high and too low, and also this idea that ratios, although there are some general figures available,